Hello everyone! Today I'm going to talk about the earthen wall and trenches. Note that this video will contain spoilers, so if you wish to explore the world of Aska on your own, now is the time to turn off this video. Still here? Good, let's go. You might have heard people talk about how they make these cool earth walls or trenches around their cities instead of building walls. I am going to show you how to do this today. First, let's revisit what I said in an earlier episode about terraforming. If you place down a blueprint, it will terraform the whole area to be in this same level. If we do so on a hill, some part will go into the hill and some part will make a plateau. We use this knowledge to our advantage. So if I want to make a trench around my city, I need to find the lowest elevation spot and start terraforming from there in a line around my village. If you have a higher elevation drop, you will obviously have a deeper trench. You know if the trench will work if you simply try to walk up on any of the hills. When you notice that you could climb, that means the enemies will also be able to climb. You can fix that by terraforming on top of the trench as well, making the wall steeper. Now the earth wall works exactly the same, just from the opposite direction. If this was the inside of my village, this would likely be enough to make sure the enemies can't simply waltz in. So where can I find the highest elevation possible? What I tend to do is to go on top of my mine, where I have the highest elevation around, and then I make my wall from here. First I will clear out all the trees, of course. Alright, I have removed the trees in both directions and removed any rocks that were in the way. You have likely noticed that when you're using the terraform tool, sometimes the boxes become red. And you can't terraform these spots because the elevation is too steep. Sad, how are we gonna make a wall if that is gonna be a problem? Our creative players have found out that some of the blueprints make it easier to terraform even with this restriction. We are using the watchtower for this example. So I am going to start with putting down a watchtower up here just so I can terraform. After, I simply dismantle and repeat. Now we're starting to get to the edge. Let's take a look with the terraforming tool, how it looks. As you can see, we can't actually terraform more than this. And then we take the watchtower instead. And again. As you can see, I did not terraform everything away. That is because I'm leaving some legroom to make a ramp. I am going to build some watchtowers on top of the wall for protection reasons. And I wouldn't want my archers to have to go all the way to the mine to run to where my gate will be later. So how do you make a ramp? As I showed you in a previous video, You make ramps by using the pathmaker. There. Now our archers will be able to come up here without a problem. I just want to mention something. As you can see, when terraforming you sometimes will get these holes. If you accidentally fall in them, you will probably get stuck and need to use the unstuck function. So it is wise to terraform them away by just using the pathing tool again. So I want my gate to be here. But I also need to make the wall continue on. So what I do is that I will make the wall continue and then I will make a hole in the wall. I will show you how I do that. You have likely noticed that a couple of times the terraforming squares became red. That can happen if there are objects on the floor, like tree stumps or vegetables growing or rocks. But sometimes it can also be that the elevation became a bit too steep, so you can try again by placing it a little bit closer to yourself. As you can see, the wall is getting higher and higher because the elevation of the island is getting lower. Now, if I want to make my gate here where you can see the road, then I need to make a ramp on this side as well, so I can actually get up again. The higher the elevation, the more work it will take before you can make the ramp. Alright, we have made the second ramp. It's not pretty, but it's functional. Most important. Now I can get up from both sides, so now we can make that gate. I want my gate to go out here where you see the road. So again, we will use our trusty watchtower to dig through the wall. Ta-da! And now we actually make a gate. As you remember, arrow has to point inwards. There, the gate is done. Let's say the wall is finished around my whole village and this is the only gate. The enemies will only come here to try to get in. It is then much easier to defend because you just need to make sure your warriors and archers are stationed here instead of around the whole village. Now, as you can see, there are holes here on the side so they can actually just walk in. So we are gonna adjust that by going up on the wall and building it a little bit more. Definitely not my prettiest work, but it does the job. And we can also build those spikes that will damage our enemies. Now on this side the wall isn't very high compared to over there, so what we can do is to make a trench so that the elevation in between is slightly bigger. Like this. Additionally, I also will build towers here next to the gate so that my archers can have target practice on the enemies. Since my archers will be stationed here after they have trained, I will need to also build a campfire so they don't freeze to death during winter. Alright, we can leave the entrance to the professionals. As you can see, I have a wolf den just on the brink of my cave. Every time a new wolvar spawns, they come and attack my buildings. And even if I make the wall, they will simply climb up here. So what we need to do is to raise the elevation so that they can't climb. As you can see, it takes some time to make this wall. I prefer making the earth wall because, first of all, it doesn't cost any resources apart from the hose used to make it. It doesn't break, you don't need to repair it. The enemies will go to the same places as our villagers where the pathing allows them to enter, which makes it much easier to defend. This concludes my walkthrough of the earthen wall and trenches. Thank you for watching.